Hello and welcome to the Ireland Rugby Social. Gavin Andrews, Conor Murray, still languishing after a spectacular win in Twickenham for Ireland, but it is Wales week and we've managed to track down a Wales legend, a Lions legend, and Conor, you can give him the big one here.
Yes, a serious Welsh legend that I had the honour of touring with in 2013. Showed me the ropes of touring, more importantly. Sir Jamie Roberts. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Glory days, mate. Glory days. 13 years ago. Can you believe
Scary.
You haven't aged
stuff.
a bit. I've aged about 20 years.
No, you're looking $1 million. I'm backlit as well, so that'll help me.
Yeah, fair, mate. Fair. God, it's a lifetime ago, isn't it? But there we are, another year, another Six Nations. I've got to say, guys, I was blown away by Ireland at Twickenham, as I'm sure you all were, every Irish fan there, everyone watching around the world. I could not believe that result. I thought they'd sneak it. I woke up in the morning, I was like, this sort of tournament is the sort of, it feels like the sort of day Wales are going to sneak it against Scotland and Ireland are going to sneak it against England.
Yeah.
And, mate, they blew them off the park. And dare I say it, the Welsh game was really, really difficult to take because we deserved to win it.
You had it done.
To win it, and it was a brutal way to finish. The players must have been absolutely gutted because I think they did enough to win that game. But there are green shoots, and hopefully we can repeat that in Dublin Friday.
Oh, big chat, yeah.
It's been 14. I mean, I don't want to drag it down early here, but it does feel like a lifetime away from when you guys were winning titles.
Yeah, it's been a couple of difficult years, isn't it? And that's what made last weekend. Sorry, there was obviously a rest weekend, wasn't there? But
yeah,
that's what made the Scotland fix just so gutting because you appreciate how hard the lads are working to try and turn the tide, and they did everything but win the game. They worked so hard. They played really, really well. I think we've seen a new Wales, kind of the way Wales are going to play moving forward. Certainly as we look ahead to Rugby World Cup next year, a bit like the Great Island sides of recent. A lot of ball movement, a lot of running lines, a lot of decoy shape, quick ball, and just trying to go multi-phase. And they showed some great stuff against Scotland, and they deserve to win it. And it's tough, isn't it? When sometimes they're much harder to take. Get what I mean?
I think the rugby world were fancying Wales or supporting Wales 2 weeks ago because obviously it's a tough patch for them. But like you said, they had it won. Obviously, that kickoff they'll look back on and just that's
brutal.
It's on the reviews side of things, that's an easy fix, but just what the result would have meant. But I think you said it, like green shoots in terms of the way Wales played, and I agree the way they're moving the ball and the brand of rugby they played is something to be positive about.
The scalp is coming. It's the question of when,
and
whether it's going to be in this tournament. I mean, God, I'm trying to think of the last time Wales won in Dublin. 2012. Correct me if I'm wrong.
100%. My friend Mike Phillips got man of the match, and it was a tough day out.
It's not been a happy hunting ground for Wales over the last do the math. 14 years. So it's whether Wales have a chance of winning. I think they do, but I just want to see a performance from them that builds on what they showed against Scotland. And if they do that, they're going to be competitive in Dublin. Because emotionally, Ireland to back up their performance in Twickenham is going to take a hell of a game from them. I think
that's what, like you said that about. Now I know Ireland or Wales are in different parts of their journey, but Ireland before the England game, it was just performance. Like Andy Farrell said it about not really caring about the result, which you take with a pinch of salt, but performance, because Ireland hadn't been performing. You know what I mean? I think Wales would take a lot of confidence from the Scotland game, and had Scotland ran riot, coming to Dublin now, I think it's a daunting task most of the time with this team. But I think Wales, cliche, but focus on themselves and get a performance together, something they can be proud of. And who have Wales last?
Italy at home, which again,
perfect.
As well. If you say perfect, I mean Italy now, mate. As well as I do. Rewind 10 years. You could have a 6 or 7 out of 10 performance against Italy and still win. You need a 9 out of 10 now. Like that sort of team. That's kind of that's a mark of respect to their progress. They're a serious side, and and they host England this weekend, mate. So, and England will be twitching. England will be twitching.
That's a tough one to go to. Usually, don't you like? You'll probably agree from playing them a lot, or like if you get them when you used to get them late in the tournament, round 4, round 5, sometimes they're kind of beaten up, and it's they've softened up a bit because it's probably been a long tournament for them. But like now they're building, and you saw what they did to Ireland in Dublin. Like they gave them a proper scare.
They're a proper team. Yeah. And conversely, Ireland, now they got a sniff. I get a bit worried because the opening match against Paris, I think there was a lot of, well, you must have seen it, Con, a lot of hyperbole in the press, and talk about Ireland and the age profile of the squad, and and that England performance has just completely shut everyone up.
Yeah. You wouldn't believe the negativity here is off the Richter scale, wasn't it? People were just, because like that always irked me, and maybe because I played into my 30s, but that this age profile thing. What do you think of it? I just think maybe it's because I'm quite friendly with a lot of lads in their 30s in the squad, but a lot of those lads are the boys performing as well. I know there's young guys playing, but it's such it's a sore spot for me because I think it's such an easy.
It is an easy
criticism of people, isn't it?
Yeah, and it only comes out when you lose. And then when you're winning, it's like, the age profile's good at the squad, and you've got the experienced heads there. So it's mate, you're right. All the good squads you've played in, as well as I do. Like you get it's the mix of ages, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the 100%. Old boys. The amount you learn. You arguably, I think, as a young player, probably learn more off the senior players than you do any coach. I always felt that as a young guy coming through the ranks. And when you look at your lads, I mean, you've got some serious old heads in there who are proper test players. Let's talk about Stuart McCloskey, mate. I mean, that performance, there we go. Right? I
similar, like athletic profile as yourself, would you say,
mate? I dropped a message after the game. I said, mate, that is the best I've seen you ever play. And I crossed paths with Stuart quite a lot down the years against Ulster. Always thought top player. He's had to sit behind Bundy Aki for a long time with Ireland and never really taken this shot. He's had a few chances, but never really grasped it. Yeah. I mean, he's first name on the team sheet after that performance. Like, I've not seen him bring his strength to the game, and he's been in great form for his club this year. It feels like maybe, I don't know, how old is Stuart now?
He's 30, I'm going to guess 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe he's reached that point in his career where we probably both went through it, Connor, where you go, right, you have a little think about your age and you think, I'm not going to be doing this much longer. And you then, it triggers something in your mind where you go, actually, I need to work that little bit harder now.
Yeah.
Take these opportunities because they're not going to last forever. And that performance at Twickenham, I've not seen a 12. One, his running ability, his offload ability, his passing ability, game understanding, his defensive strength. It was near enough a perfect game from a 12 of that stature. And I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it because it's come at 31 or 32, however old Stuart is. And I'm absolutely delighted for him because he's obviously had to sit down the pecking order for a while, isn't he?
Because like we've talked about Stuart a good few, like, and he's been playing like that for Ulster for so long. And I agree, he was stuck in that triangle. Outside that triangle of Ringrose, Henshaw, and Bundy for years, and he'd get the odd game for Ireland. Like, he's been in squads. It was nearly an ongoing joke that he'd turn up to training camp and he knew he was never going to play. Like he's a great fella, and he'd kind of take the mick out of himself about like holding pads or whatever, and that was his. But he's been dropped more times by Andy than he's been picked, and Andy always speaks so highly of him. When he did drop him, he was just like, I get it. Like he's got a level head. Bundy was playing like out of his skin. Like these were years where he was getting World Player of the Year nominees, and then he's just I agree that performance.
To take your game to that next level in a match like that later in your career takes. It feels like that's what I mentioned before. It feels like a psychological switch a little bit, and I'm only assuming that might be because he's a little bit older, and maybe he's going to, you know what, this ain't going to last many more years. Because it can, we all think that, don't we? You get into these as a pro rugby player, and you start
looking over your shoulder.
Well, exactly. You start looking over your shoulder, young lads and coming through, and then you think about your body and whatever. But he must have worked so hard to get into his shape to deliver a performance like that. Because not just his strength in the tackle, but his pace, man.
His pace. Can we talk about his pace? Because I've trained with him so much and played with him, but I've never seen that. Like the line break, and then obviously chasing down Marcus was,
off to the bloke, mate.
When you're playing,
that big.
it was mental. Like he just looked like, I don't know. You talk about like when you're at that age and it's a switch of mindset. Sometimes, and my experience is, you just, like you say, you're not going to be around for much longer. So do you enjoy it more, or you relax more because you're like, right, I'm going to enjoy Twickenham today rather than I'm going to be back here in the next or 2 years' time. You know what I mean? You kind of just have that little bit of, I don't know, the nerves are less maybe at times. And then equally when you're older, they can be more.
There is that, but I don't want to discredit the guy. He must have worked so hard to get into that shape to deliver that performance, because when you play that position and it's attritional, I've been there. It hurts, mate. It hurts. Like the toll it takes on your body, especially what the team expect him to do when you're running into 2-3 people 10 times every weekend, flat out. It takes its toll. So massive respect to the fella. Like, he's obviously looked after his body very well. Must be super diligent, professionally. And it must have worked so hard to get into that nick. I've never seen him run that quick.
Yeah.
And he looks all super powerful in the contact now. So he must be working so hard behind the scenes. So credit to him. I just hope he doesn't show up Friday night.
I don't know. He seems to, but I think he's on one. I think he's in the running for player of the tournament the way he's played so far. I think another point is that lads, he brings a different profile than Bundy and Robbie at 12, doesn't he? I think lads are getting used to running lines off him. Like you'd support that guy every time he gets the ball, wouldn't it? Just pass. He's a bit like RG Snyman kind of takes the piss a bit with like in terms of how much he gets the ball free, but like Stu isn't far off. Like he's not gonna how often he keeps his feet and he's just looking around for like the quarterback pass he threw against Italy. Like he has all that stuff, so people are just ready. Well, he threw it to another Ulsterman, but boys are getting used to playing with him, I think.
Yeah. I see Bundy's back in the squad.
Yeah.
So what happens? He's got to keep the jersey, Stuart.
Yeah, he keeps the jersey, doesn't he? He does, and I'm very close with Bundy. I think Bundy tell you that, but I think I could see Bundy 23. I would say.
Do you think it's the case with Bundy? It's like kind of you've learned your lesson, mate. Back in the squad.
No, because Bundy never learns his lesson. So just wait around until the next band rolls around. No, I think Andy, they get on really well, and I'm sure Andy would have been like, that can't happen again, my friend. And Bundy's what age? 34, so he says. So I think you like Stu ish, that Stu was waiting for an opportunity. Bundy's in now. Well, we're not saying he's in, but if he does get a chance, he's going to be revved up. And we've seen Bundy Wales last year when we played them in Cardiff. Bundy was on the bench and he just had this.
You were literally running the game, mate.
Yeah, he had an edge to him. So like, if you can get that edge in Bundy and not get it to spill over, then you might have something good.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You talk about the game in Cardiff. I lost that game from my mind, but although Wales lost that day, I left the stadium super impressed. They were brilliant against Ireland last
16-9, I think.
Yeah, it was close, mate, until minute 70, 75. And Bundy had that turnover, if you remember. He was off the bench. It just killed the game.
Yeah.
That unbelievable turnover. But yeah, it was one of those games, a bit similar to the Scotland game of last week, where people are leaving the stadium really, really delighted with the performance, albeit in a loss.
Yeah.
And kind of a sort of game where you feel Welsh rugby kind of rediscovered its identity, really. And, this Welsh side, the guy opposite Stuart on the weekend. We had a young lad, Eddie James, who's been wearing 13 alongside Joe Hawkins. Obviously, different end of his journey to Stuart McCloskey or Bundy Aki, but you kind of finally, it felt like he became a test player last weekend.
Yeah.
Finally found his feet, really felt as if he appreciated and understood how powerful he can be in the tackle, got his timing onto the ball well, and caused a lot of damage. I mean, he's a big lad.
Yeah.
110 kg, 6'4", and powerful and quick as well. So, you know, if we're gonna have any chance out in Dublin, we need him and Joe Hawkins. If that's going to be the midfield to try and punch a few holes. But do you think Gary will start alongside Stuart?
I think Gary, if he's fit, he's got that 13 jersey, but he limped off, didn't he? With that knee, he had his knee quite heavily strapped from the Italy week. So, that's another thing. You don't know what way you can mix it with Bundy back. What way you can? I don't know. Is Robbie Henshaw fit? So I think
he played in Cardiff actually. I worked on the game in Cardiff on was it Friday night or Saturday night? Can't even remember now. Saturday night. He played with Leinster.
Yeah, so
Cardiff
he's
just
back.
picked them. It's happy days. Great performance.
It's tough seeing Leinster lose, isn't it? Still gets
right.
it.
Who's playing at 10? What's happening at 10 for Ireland, mate?
Oh, Jack.
Again, Crowley keeps the jersey, doesn't he?
I think after Twickenham, Jack again stood up and had a really good game. Helped by Stuart McCloskey outside him, who was making line breaks and offloads, but Jack did really well. He'll start. I'm interested to see what Faz does with Sam Prendergast, because I think he took him out of the firing line 2 weeks ago against Italy. He's getting a lot of heat here. He's getting a lot of criticism, and he looked like a player who was kind of just down on confidence a little bit. So do you bring him?
He feels like he's wearing that pressure.
Yeah, and
he's super talented, isn't he?
But unbelievable.
Ultimately, he's still got a way to go before he becomes the main operator at outside half. And look, I think we're all through kind of tinted glasses a bit, because the generational tens you guys had in O'Gara and Johnny.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
It's not part of the problem. It's just, I think as older folk, we kind of, especially I've played against those guys, met so many times, and they were unbelievable operators. Tactically, super, super smart.
Yeah.
And, you've got to give these next guys the chance to deliver. And I think Jack's performance was super mature, actually, in Twickenham. Because, again, he's been playing second fiddle. He's had probably, quite a few opportunities with Ireland down the years, but never really grasped the jersey, is he?
No.
But it's hard to see him now not playing that Ireland 10 shirt unless he has an absolute shocker, because he showed it all. Again, his control, his rugby, kind of the IQ, when's a kick pass run. He's quick. He's sharp, isn't he?
He's an athlete, He's a runner as well.
Proper athlete, and he can hit defensively as well. So, kind of changing the guard, wasn't it, at Twickenham? He felt in the 10 jersey.
Yeah, I think it just gives Jack, it's bought him a bit of time in it. Whereas up until now, I know Faz has backed Sam for quite a while, but up before that, it was like they'd play a game or two, and then they'd switch it up, and there's no consistency there. So I think the problem, part of the problem, is the public are just used to, like you said, a Johnny or a Raj, and they think there's going to be a 10 ready made to come in and be world class automatically. But these lads are 20. I think Sam is still 22, 23. Jack isn't much older, so it's tough. I think there's just the expectations on them is a little bit unrealistic at times. They got to learn, like I'm sure you'll agree, in test match situations where you make those big mistakes and you hopefully get another chance. Like we all suffered them.
It's not an easy place to live, mate. And we've both been there, like as young men. And the pressure. I mean, the Irish media. Sounds like the Irish media can be as brutal as the Welsh media, mate.
I think, Gav, you'll probably agree. I think the Irish media are getting a little bit more saucy. I think they're just, I don't know, whether it's the team has been successful over the last period, that again, it's like a spectator or the supporter side of things, where they're just expecting wins. Like I went as a fan to Chicago, to the All Blacks game, and fans were leaving, just being like, what happened there? And we're like, we lost to the All Blacks. Like, it's we used to do this every year for years until we turned the corner. But it's just, I think the media and the 10 debate is always a super topical debate. It's a popular one. It's clickbait.
I wonder if Wales fancy this weekend. Ireland going so well the way they did in Twickenham, the celebrations around the Marcus Smith moment for Stuart McCloskey, it was a huge moment for Irish rugby because they were under big pressure. I almost feel like Wales are going to fancy this weekend.
I'm not sure fancy it is the right word. What I'll say on Ireland is that, like, when you have such an emotional high like that, it's hard to replicate. But I think Ireland have probably been quite fortunate with the rest weekend.
Yeah.
A chance to, complete, because that's completely gone to bed now. To play the following weekend after that sort of performance at Twickenham, very, very hard to replicate it. It becomes easier to replicate it 2 weeks down the line, having had a rest. So I think it's come at a good time for Ireland. I think Wales, they won't be talking much about whether they win or lose in Dublin.
Yeah.
There's a humility about this Welsh side. And, I've heard one of the coaches talk a few weeks ago about, kind of brick by brick, restoring our performance level. And I wholeheartedly agree that it needs to be about performance. It needs to be about implementing their attacking structure, their defensive structure, which I think was much better against Scotland. I mean, defensively in the opening 2 rounds, we got caught out down at Twickenham and against the French. Certainly in the wider channels, we got caught out and looked a bit confused at times. But against Scotland, our spacings were much better. We hit harder, smart decisions at the breakdown. And it's brick by brick. We are building, and I think that confidence they can take from Scotland. They improve on that performance from Scotland and bring it to Dublin. It's got all the ingredients to be a classic and a one-score game. Dare I say it? It's when you factor in Ireland's performance in Twickenham as well, and it's going to be an unbelievable game, as it always is. And probably a bit of needle, Connor. We hate each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, never spoke to you boys on the line stores at all. You always avoided each other. What
are your favourite memories against Wales, mate?
Favourite, you talk. There's a few. It's playing in Cardiff because that was my favourite. It is my favourite ground. And you talked about being proud of their performance last year for when we got the Triple Crown, but we were at home preparing for that game, and again the public or the media just assumed we'd go and we'd wipe the floor, but we'd win the Triple Crown easy, and then we'd power on and we'd play France and see where the ball fell then. But like, we know going there against Wales is always really, I know it's a different fixture, but talking about the stadium, it's so hard to play there. But when you do get a win there, it's always hard earned, and that happened last year in that 16-9. I'm pretty sure that was the score. Yeah. When everyone was writing Wales off or starting to write Wales off, and I don't know, something about playing in the stadium does something to ye boys. Definitely, it's an incredible place to play, and I think
is it the same for the Aviva then with you lads from playing at home?
I'm retired now. I can say it's not. I did the Aviva, and people have talked about it a bit. Like, sometimes it can be flat. It just feels flat. I don't know what the makeup of that is, whether it's corporate people in the boxes and not coming out for the anthems or not. It's striking because anytime you play at South Africa or New Zealand or whatever in November, the place is hopping. Then at times it can dip a bit. Sometimes it's a stadium. It's not. Millennium is always rocking for some. Maybe it's the roof closed.
Well, we can close the roof, mate, and it's a cauldron of an atmosphere, isn't it? Where I guess a lot of that noise dissipates at the Aviva, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I always found it hard when people would say, I couldn't hear you, or I couldn't hear the call. But like in Cardiff, when the roof is closed and the place is hopping, you can't hear people. You can't hear people beside you. You just got to rely on body language or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a different level over there.
I think the Welsh fans take a huge amount of credit, don't they, for the way they embrace it. Because I think someone said at one stage, it's almost like, they've got that New Zealand type love for the game where it feels a little bit different over there.
Yeah, but the Welsh fans will always support their team, and how loud it was against Scotland. as I said, I think, however many Welsh fans were there, probably 50,000 or near enough, when you factor in the away fans, would have left that stadium really optimistic and optimistic about not just this weekend, but the next 6 months, 12 months as we look ahead to Rugby World Cup 27. Just a team that are bit by bit finding their feet. And, the performances of the last couple of years have been difficult, haven't they? Been hard to watch. And that's why it was so hard on Saturday, because they deserved to win.
Yeah.
So, I hope I have that feeling again after Dublin. I'm coming out for the game. Can't wait to be at the Aviva again. I mean, as we talked about it, 2012 was the last time Wales won there. And that was the opening match of the Grand Slam year with Wales. I think my majority of my memories against Ireland have been bad. I've had some amazing wins, like
you had the World Cup in 2011.
Rugby World, yeah. Well, I mean, that was the other one, right? Rugby World Cup quarter final.
Yeah.
Con, did you play? Were you in the squad for that one?
Yeah. Started, didn't obviously make an impression.
Yeah.
Philsey down the blind side.
Yeah, Philsey. Yeah,
he was in his pomp.
It was a generational Irish side, wasn't it? And I that's it. So you beat Australia in the groups, didn't you?
Which we beat Australia in the group, so it flipped the perception of what people thought, and then
we turned up in Wellington. That was amazing. That's probably one of the highlights of my career. Top 3, without a doubt. That feeling was incredible. But that's sport, isn't it? Some days it goes for you. Just went for us that day. But 2012 was awesome. And the bad ones, when Ireland won the Slam in 2009 in Cardiff.
Yeah.
O'Gara hit a drop goal in like minute 77, I think. And it was a big moment in my career when you see another team parade the trophy around your stadium.
Yeah.
And it came early in my career. I was only 22 that year. And I remember that, and it hurt so much that it actually motivated me quite a bit. I was like, I'd never, ever want to feel that feeling again of an opposing team parading, the stadium around your stadium, the trophy around your stadium. It's kind of gut-wrenching feeling. And 4 years after that, we had that famous win against England to win the trophy.
Yeah.
Cardiff, and England were going for the Slam. So there was I think half the squad who were played in 2009 who were involved in that. So we were like, we can't feel that feeling again. It's one of the worst things. But the opening game of that tournament, 2013, you beat us in Cardiff. It's when Zeebs did his little flick off his leg.
I haven't seen that since, and Zeebs doesn't reshare it at all.
He's never
I've never. I think he doesn't like talking about it.
That was a crap day.
I lost. Not that I was in a ruck while that happened, so I didn't see it live. And I think it was the beginning of like Instagram and social media, and that we went in, we won the game. I didn't know what Zeebs had done, and he was sitting beside me, and he had his phone out, and he was like, "Man, I am after blowing up on Twitter."
he is retweeting that. He's posting it everywhere.
Ridiculous.
Oh, can you imagine if he did that this year? If he was still playing, I mean, jeez.
He'll probably, you know what he'll do, and I can bet you, I won't bet you on this, but he'll reshare that this week saying Ireland v Wales. Looking forward to the whatever, some nonsense, and it'll just be that clip. Have great memories against Wales, and he just for a chance to put it up again.
Fine, mate. I'll buy you a beer in Dublin Friday if he does that.
Yeah, look forward to it. That's happening.
You're a goal kicker, aren't you?
I used to put my hand up for the long range ones. None of the pressure, none of the real pressure ones.
Have you kicked points for Ireland?
Yeah, I've kicked a few.
Never in any big games?
Yeah.
Or they were against like Romania and stuff?
No. There was one against the All Blacks in Chicago.
Okay.
Straight in front of the post, like 25 meters out, and so nervous. Like just when you get handed the ball like 50 meters or wherever around that area, you're just like, right, just make a good contact, and obviously there's a little bit more to it, but there's no real pressure. Whereas the ones straight in front where the captain's like, oh, we'll take the tree, ref. And they're like, oh, there's no tree guaranteed here, lads. So it is. It's like Yeah, you'd be nervous. I remember warming up for a European semi-final against Toulon down there, and our out half had a bit of a niggle, so they were like, "There's a good chance you'll be goal kicking today." I was like, "Gee, I hadn't done this since under 20s," and I remember trying to put the ball on the tee in the warm up, and the ball like my hands were shaking, that the ball was shaking, so I couldn't place it properly. So I just had to, yeah. So it can. I don't know how Stephen Jones felt with a Grand Slam at stake in 2009.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. Though. Amazing theatre for the fans. Like that's been the even watching most of the games. I think I've watched them all so far. Like the rugby's in a good place. Like I think as fans, everyone's watching, completely captivated by the games, and they've all been. I say they've all been close. You know, bar England Wales opening round, and then you boys at Twickenham last round. Like there's teams, really, really going at it, and the quality has been unbelievable. And they're all amazing.
France,
right?
France are just out on their own, but other than that, I think it can be very close between most of the other teams. So I think France are just advertising rugby the way it should be at the minute. The way they can play.
Completely agree with you. The way the game should play, mate, it's brutal and beautiful at the same time, isn't
it? They just they seem like the best team in the world now. I know South Africa might have something to say, but like they're just a pleasure to watch. Obviously, they've got Dupont, Biel Beret, like Ramos. Like they have stars everywhere. Like
proper. Who do you guys have in the last round then? Scotland in Dublin.
Scotland in Dublin, yeah.
Dublin. So you're two
potentially triple round decider. Let's not get too
excited.
Whoa! Hold the horses a minute.
Hey, boys! Steve Borthwick was talking about playing for the trophy in Paris at the start of the tournament. Look how he ended up.
Did he actually quote that he had talked about it?
Well, they were talking about the last round. Wanting to go to Paris. On their final weekend and still be in the hunt for the trophy and stuff like that.
You got to keep that in house, don't you?
I know. I saw a piece Eddie Jones wrote. He's like, mate, probably a bit of a mistake. The wives start talking about where we're going to eat in Paris.
Yeah,
So it's not worked out so well, is it? But they'll be back, mate. That England-Italy game is going to be a humdinger. It'd be unbelievable.
That's going to be an unbelievable game. Because they got to be hurt. Like when England lost to Scotland, I thought it was a bit of a blip. I thought they had been going so well and they looked like they had a lot of things covered, or they really knew how they were playing. And then I'd say their heads are fried after the Ireland game because they don't know.
It's at home as well, isn't it? It's quite when you lose like that at home, it's a real slap in the face.
Yeah,
it's a hard one as a player to take, and you start asking a whole host of questions of yourself, don't you, in the team, and I don't know if you've been there in your career. I had a few where you had big losses at home when you sat in the change room and you start questioning lots of different things. So there's a big pressure on that coaching group, isn't there, to bring those lads together, to have the belief in what they're trying to do.
Yeah, because the Scotland game and the Ireland game, they looked up until that point, they looked really clear, especially in attack.
Yeah,
if you want to talk about that, they looked really decisive and they knew their shape. But against Scotland, they ran out of. I know Arundel was off for a while, but they just looked like they lost their whole shape. And then maybe that was a hangover that came into the Ireland game. They just looked out of sync. Whereas before, I was big enough. George Ford, I think he's unbelievable the way he utilises his backline and the way he manages the whole game. But it just didn't seem to flow. I think so. They'll be asking questions. The coaches need to be really good, obviously, this week.
Yeah, it feels like Doris is back at the top of his game as well, doesn't it?
Sorry, yeah, we briefly chatted about him after the game, Gav. He was so good. Like, think of his
play in a while, actually.
Because I think he's had one of the toughest things to get over.
Yeah, the line stuff.
Because he was like, and whoever wants to argue differently, fair enough. But he was going to be Lions captain. He was. I really feel it. I didn't hear anything, but the way he was playing.
I think he would have been. Yeah.
And then he just had to spend the summer and more months after that injured. He saw the boys go on tour, win a series. He saw Marrow lift the trophy. It's to respond like that is that's proper resilience. I think he looks really, really good again.
Yeah, he's an absolute athletic freak, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's rapid.
So you see, another line break as well. Yeah, he looked like he had a bit. He tried a little line break was class. He did try like this weird, awkward shimmy step at the end, but
Yeah, I'm
he
sure the
doesn't get
I'm sure the
much
lads ripped
practice.
him for that. Sure, the
Yeah.
lads ripped him. I just hope he doesn't turn up Friday as well.
Of all the
Uh,
mega names that have appeared and come up so far, no Brian O'Driscoll yet. What about that centre partnership, Jamie?
Yeah, amazing. I love Brian to bits. He was a huge influence on my career. Again, as a young guy, not just to play against, because obviously when you play against great players, you want to test yourself against these players, and that Darcy O'Driscoll midfield for Ireland when I first started playing with Wales in the 12 jersey was of course very prevalent and central to what Ireland were doing. And like I played with Johnny Sexton as well for a couple of years in Racing.
oh yeah.
You know, used to love taking the mick out of the wraparound play, the 10, 12, 13 that Ireland just did about 100 times every game.
It worked.
Yeah, saw it coming.
The amount we practiced defending against that when it was Darcy O'Driscoll in the midfield, right? It'd be unbelievable. It was all Sean Edwards. He'd turn up on a Monday and be like, right, lads, practicing wraparound, practicing the run around plays, you know. And we'd do it all week whenever we were playing against Ireland. But yeah, it was a privilege to play against those two. And obviously Brian, I ended up playing with him in the Lions Tour of '09 as a young guy. As I said, I was 22.
Yeah.
And, you know, very early in my journey in Test rugby. And, you know, he was obviously a magnificent player and had all the skills in the world and was quick and was kind of low centre of gravity. But the thing I admired most about Brian was his ability to communicate on the park.
Ah, yeah.
Just really short, sharp messaging. See it how he called it, how he saw it, and you know, 95% of the time it was the right call. Right, this ability, this communication on the pitch, and I was like, wow, it blew me away a bit because I'd never been around players who would essentially commentate on the game as he went through it.
Yeah.
And told you what he saw, what he thinks. How his ability to anticipate was always very special. And I learned a hell of a amount. You know, probably not without realizing as well. You know,
He had I hear that communication from playing with him, but Peter Manley had one that it really stood out. So we had two sin-bins against Italy. We actually lost Italy in the last round of Six Nations 2013. Peter Manley comes on the wing for Ireland, plays 60 minutes on the wing, but he tells the story of Brian defending at 13 and Pete outside him. Obviously no idea how to defend as a winger, which is absolutely fair enough. And he said Brian was talking to Peter as Italy were playing plays, but Brian would use the Irish language, like of, you know, they're running a wraparound, whatever the term was for the wraparound, as it was happening. And then he would be telling Pete, you know, you're one out or you're follow me. Like he said, he just coached it. Like it's not surprising you talk about his communication because he was unbelievable. And Pete did well that day on the wing and it looked like he knew what he was doing, but it was the voice
kept
inside
the jersey on the wing.
Yeah, he had a few.
Yeah,
he dropped a few kicks, but you know, other than that, he was alright.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I'd love playing against Brian. Like Wales Ireland was always a massive fish, especially since that '09 tour. You know, whenever we faced up against Ireland, there's a lot of chat around, you know, us going up against each other, and it was always such a great battle.
Some would suggest that might have been the best Lions centre partnership possibly ever. I'll not let you say that, but Murray, what do you think?
It's got to
Who
be up there.
complemented each other so well?
Yeah,
It's a very nice thing to say. I get, like, people. It's the compliment bit, isn't it? I think when people see a midfield, they see kind of maybe it's the guy with the distribution skills, with the intricate bits, and then it's the hard runner, and how you kind of use that and utilise it. And it's a shame we didn't get to play together more, to be honest. I mean, I know we had one game together in 2013, 4 years later, but you know, John Davis was on serious form on that tour.
Yeah, and you had an injury, you had a hamstring.
And I got injured, hamstring. So I missed the first two tests on that tour. But yeah, with Brian, it was kind of this telepathic understanding, really. I think he'd obviously was super experienced, had played with a lot of big ball carriers in his time. And, how best to use them, etc. So whether it's support lines or understanding how you create space for each other, it was kind of this kind of perfect blend of kind of the bludgeon that was me, and then Brian with the intricate skills and the pace and the outside break. I definitely didn't have the pace for an outside break, but I could create space in different ways. So it was that synergy, I guess. And you're right, that kind of how we complement each other was very special. And all different partnerships. Connor, you're probably similar as a halfback partnership. You've played with 10s who are super controlling, don't play too flat. You probably also played with 10s who love to run the ball and play very flat to the line as well. And that changes your game, doesn't it? It brings that different skill set in you.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it would be Johnny I talk about most when you talk about telepathic stuff. Eventually, it was a rough start with Johnny just because the standards he demands, but like it made me a better player, number one. But then you do, I'm sure you'd say as a centre as well, where you're 13, you develop an understanding where you don't need to talk as much. You talk obviously, but there are times when you don't need to speak. You're in their head, you're in each other's head, and you know what you both want, and then as a 9 and 10, the rest of the guys around you kind of follow on after that. But there's some sort of telepathy with your partners.
Who's the next 9 on the rank after Gibson Park? Not that I want to retire the bloke because he's one of the best 9s in world rugby. But
yeah, sorry again. I think any Irish player you talk about from 2 weekends ago, you can just compliment him so much. He was back to. There wasn't murmurs, not in my head anyway, but were people. He's probably part of that aging squad. Like he's 34, I think now. But he's playing like a young fella. He's playing well with an experienced head. Like he's so good. So he's there for the foreseeable. Craig Casey's there, who's playing really well with Munster this year. Nathan Doak, who's Ulster obviously flying. I think he's been around a little while, Gav, hasn't he? But I think this season he's like you say with Stu with Ireland, maybe something's clicked or something in his head, and he's on form.
With that, let's talk about the age profile a bit because I'm interested in this. So the Rugby World Cup 27, right? Obviously, the lads involved now who are the wrong side of 30, they're 32, 33, 34, whatever they are. Do you think they're kind of penciled in for the swan song at Rugby World Cup 27? Because it's always an interesting time, isn't it? 18 months out from a Rugby World Cup, who we'll pick on the summer tour, etc. And a lot of them perform brilliantly in Twickenham, but let's for argument's sake, if they don't perform or if their performance is maybe dropping off a little bit and the young guys coming through and pushing him, what sort of coach is Andy Farrell? Is he one who will back his older players, or is he someone who would roll the dice and be like, if you're not quite, you're not going to make Rugby World Cup?
Andy's like he's a coach that he backs his players that are performing, and I think from the age profile thing, because again I went through that where you're playing into your mid-30s and there's noise outside about young guys coming through and all of that noise, but Andy he's played the game, hasn't he? So he knows what it's like when you are in your 30s and you are playing, and again, personal experience, you're performing, or else you have the ability to perform. And if you're doing that and Andy sees that, then it's not a sitting on the fence thing, but like if you're playing well, he'll pick you. And I've had conversations with Andy, he'll have heard the noise and he's like, look, this is what you're doing in training. This is the way you've been playing with Munster. You're in the squad here. Like, why are you worried about? Because it at times probably got to me towards the end of my career where it annoyed me and I just wanted a bit of clarity off him. And he's like, you're playing well enough. I was second choice in Munster, but I was still in the 23s with Ireland behind Jemison. And he was like, but I still see what you're able to give the squad. So he'll pick you as long as you're performing, and I don't think there's much room for sentiment or, the boys getting a swan song at a World Cup. I think it's too competitive to maybe drag guys to the World Cup, just get them there and then whatever happens. You know what I mean? So I
guess a lot of that depends, Connor, on who the next cab off the rank is, isn't it? And the quality underneath these players.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because like we talked about the Irish pub and calls for new blood and new young guys in certain positions. There isn't young guys knocking the door down. That's just I think that's the black and white of it. That yes, there's a Rob Balakoon who's
How
flying
good
it
is
on
he, by the way?
again, another lad you mentioned, just so good. But again, a guy who's been injury struck for a while, and hit and miss with getting in form at the right time, and then an injury will come along. So guys like that are around, but then there's other guys who just aren't pushing. It's I can't even think of positionally now, but like some positions there just isn't guys ready to go. Like you said, the next cab off the rank isn't ready, or isn't. We don't know who it is.
It almost seems to me that Ireland have been in a position where in certain positions they've had an out-and-out world-class player, and then there's been a gap. If you think maybe Furlong and Porter, Hugo Keenan and how important he is as well. McCloskey's been great recently. That's a boost. Mac Hansen has been really good, but Rob Balakoon has come in. So Ireland's starting 15 really, really up there, and then there's maybe been a gap. So I think the thing for Ireland is filling in, maybe closing the gap between the out-and-out world-class and the next up.
And it's good conversation, because sometimes the only way you can close that gap is to expose those younger lads to Test rugby. And finding the time to do that in the calendar is hard, because Fixed Nations is super competitive. Obviously, we've got the Autumn Nations Cup. We've got the new league coming in the summer.
Yeah.
And that's obviously going to be the time to do it. 18 months out from a Rugby World Cup, or it'll be more 14 months out from a Rugby World Cup by then. But yeah, it's hard. It's a really hard balancing act. I don't envy coaches at all, because it's such a hard balance to strike, isn't it?
You can't. Another, like, I've had an issue with it before about people saying, "Oh, the Six Nations now is time to throw 4 or 5 young lads in there in different positions." And I hope you'd agree. It's like the Six Nations is too big a tournament, too historic, too traditional to. I'll just throw out a B team, and we won't worry about winning the competition this year. You know what I mean? It's finding the time to do it and blood those young lads is again, yeah, you're right. You wouldn't envy a coach that decision, because there isn't that many friendlies, and November isn't really. I know some people outside the sport say November is like four expedition games, but they're not. They're proper test games, and you can't, unless you get a weaker nation and you feel you can blood lads. I think it's very hard to throw them in there.
Yeah, we got a friendly this Friday against Ireland.
Yeah, there you go. You should try.
This is Connor's first Six Nations out of the game, almost out of the mix, and he's enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel, Jamie. You seem to. Listening to you still love watching it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I can remember vividly my first game that I wasn't involved was against Scotland, actually. And it was... So essentially, I've been in the Welsh side for... I think I played every game for about 9 years.
Yeah.
Or, something like that for Wales and the Six Nations. And all of a sudden, I found myself out. So 2018, not picked for the first time in 10 years. And... the first home game here was against Scotland. I lived down the road from the stadium here, and I remember the match day, the build-up. Obviously, it's horrible. You're not involved. And I remember just thinking, right, I'm just going to watch the game on my own, in the house, on TV, and let my emotions be my emotions. It is what it is, and go through it. And then about 2 hours before kickoff, I was like, no. I want to take myself to the stadium and be there in person and put myself through it, no matter how hard it was going to be. Because it's obviously hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
With time, it gets easier, and you look back and reflect, and it was an amazing time being a player for Wales. But when it's fresh and it's raw and you haven't been picked, the emotions can be really, really brutal. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to take myself to the ground. So I got in touch with a mate who's got a box in the stadium, sorted me a ticket, short notice, thankfully. And I walked to the stadium. And as I was walking to the stadium, the team bus drove past me, and I kind of just turned my head and looked away. I was like,
when you're out, you're out.
What am I doing? So I got to the stadium, and mate, it was brutal. I think Wales won by like 40 points. It was the game. It was a Hoggy, I think, got a red.
Yeah.
and Wales won the game by 40. Hadley Parks, who'd taken my position, wonderful player, rightfully in his place in the squad. I think he got man of the match. and mate, it was, and to this day, I'm really, really grateful I went, because it gave me, psychologically, it gave me an easier path to closure.
Yeah.
Rather than just shy away from those emotions and feel them and be at home and kind of keep them in. I was like, oh, I'm going to face this. I'm going to face it, full frontal, just go for it. However brutal those emotions were, I felt them. And they were magnified. Wales won by 40, I think. And the guy wearing the 12 jersey got man of the match.
And you're secretly hoping, not that they lose, but definitely the fella wearing your jersey doesn't play that well. And people are,
mate,
that's very natural. It's very, very natural. It's
very, very natural. And but that was like, all right, mate, you're out. Your time is done. Sort of moment, albeit it was difficult. But how have you found it?
I agree with you. It is difficult, but like you said, you played 9 years in a row, every game in the Six Nations. It's an adjustment, obviously, and it takes a bit of time. But I feel really fortunate, looking back, that I got to go when I wanted to go. You know what I mean? Yeah. Rather than, I don't know, digging your heels in and trying to play for something that isn't there. I think I timed it as well as I could have. Me, Pete, and Cian Healy all went at the same time, and we didn't win the tournament, but we got it. I always wanted to go out literally with the boots on. You know what I mean, with Munster and Ireland, and say goodbye properly. But saying that, I was in Twickenham 2 weeks ago, and I really bought into it as a fan. I was up and down out of my seat, and we were having a bit of banter with the few English boys in front, and it was a great day out, and I really, really wanted them to win. I wanted Jamison to play well, all the things that you say you don't want to do. But I think it happens over a time period, where you you adjust and you reflect. I think reflection was great because I got to do it for so long. I was really, really lucky, to stay involved that long. So when you're out, and they have a memory like that, you often can recall on a memory similar. Or, I was there, I played in Twickenham, I'm glad I've done that, because going to the stadium is another thing as well, because every second Irish older man would come up to you and be like, you'd love to be out there today, wouldn't you? Geez, I bet you missed it. Just wanting you to be like, yeah, I'm down in the dumps here. Whereas I was having a few Guinness watching the game. It was, when your time is gone, your time is gone. And accepting it is pretty important.
Yeah, I'm the same. I did a 12-hour shift in hospital yesterday. I reckon I had about 10 patients come up to me and be like, when are you getting your boots back on?
It's going to be like that for the rest of the time, I'd imagine.
I'm 40 this year, mate. I'm 40, which is ancient in rugby terms.
Jeez. Nothing like your job to give you a bit of perspective, Jamie, and the real
life. Oh, yeah.
How's it been?
Yeah, it's very different, mate. It's very different to the past life, I'm going to assure you that. I'm just trying to think of lads who played to 40. Brad Thorne was one.
Yeah. Played well until he was 40. I don't think I could have done it.
Rory Best, no?
BSD?
He was close to it. Sexto was 38.
God, fair play. It's impressive. Yeah. Johnny didn't tackle though, did he? So he's all right.
The odd choke tackle here and there.
Yeah.
It's a maul. It's a maul.
It's a maul, ref. It's a maul, ref. Oh, so that's another Ireland memory.
Yeah.
You were the boys who started doing that.
I think
Paulie at the heart of it.
And Paulie had,
Yeah, you're Paul O'Connell in the middle of Moors going, it's a maul, ref. I remember playing, just seeing his big head. And I just remember, like, we played...
Great tactic.
Mate, you did about 4 or 5 of them in the game against us. In the first year it came in, I was like, they've set a trend here.
Really kills the flow of a game, doesn't it?
Oh.
Great. It's great when you're part of it and you get the turnover, and it's quite, I don't know, you feel silly when you're held up like that and like everyone's just jumping on top.
I can only imagine Paulie.
The ref's arm comes out.
Yeah, I can only imagine Paulie coaching those lads now.
Oh yeah,
the choke tackle boys.
Yeah,
there we are.
Putting the fear of God into them.
Put the fear of God into him.
He loved it.
There we are, mate.
Yeah.
That seems like a lovely place to leave it. We'll go final predictions then for the weekend, shall we?
Final
Wales
predictions.
is friendly. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a one-score game. I think Ireland sneak it. 2012's the last time Wales won there. I want to see Wales improve their performance against Scotland. I'm confident they will, but I just think Ireland now, because they've got a sniff of silverware, they're going to be super, super motivated for this. So I'm going to go Ireland 26, Wales 20.
Yeah. I I think with Ireland being really motivated, I think the 2 week break is huge for Ireland, because if it was the week after Twickenham, it would have been hard. I think it'll be. I think Ireland, because we've also been under pressure at home lately with performances. I think what the England performance will do will galvanise them. But with Wales improving and taking a lot from the Scotland game, I think it'll be 36-24 to Ireland.